A man witnessed an alleged spacecraft retrieved in the 1980s and stored at Area 51. That's according to investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who during a recent interview discussed an alleged anonymous source who has contacted the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, an office that investigates unidentified flying objects, about the alleged craft.
According to the source, his great-uncle worked at Area 51 and saw a photograph of the object, and according to Coulthart, said it was, quote, absolute proof of non-human craft. Let's hear more about this alleged object that was stored.
He said, quote, the object was egg-shaped, about the size of an SUV, silverish grey in colour, smooth, seamless, no control surfaces or propulsion visible, no writing, no symbols of any kind. A few men could pick it up, yet it could not be cut open and X-rays couldn't penetrate it. The best engineers at EG&G tried to figure out how to activate it and what its power source was to no avail. They finally came to the conclusion it was a probe craft sent here from another planet. This anonymous individual is willing to testify under oath before Congress. He also took a smartphone image of his great-uncle's EG&G engineering group and their insignia patch, and he's authorized me to allow us to show that patch, which I'll send you after this chat, and you can cut it in, my friend. This individual has also interviewed with Arrow and has signed and dated an official memorandum of record. And he's also spoken with Tim Burchett as well.
Meanwhile, UFO investigator and co-host of the Weaponized podcast, Jeremy Corbell, says that as many as 40 whistleblowers ready to come forward after David Grush's bombshell testimony on Capitol Hill. Let's watch.
Oh, I think you'll be hearing directly from people that have worked on these technologies, people that might even have their clearances held in a kind of purgatory so they can't leave. I think that you're going to hear directly from people that ran programs, which, by the way, there were supposed to be 2 other legacy UFO program witnesses, one from an agency, that actually have much more of the story than you or me or anybody else. So that didn't happen. That should tell you something. So who are you going to hear from? As long as there's not some major problem that occurs, oh, you're going to hear from everybody involved. I mean, you're going to hear, man, this is something that's coming out. I'm telling you, there's no stopping it now. It's just a matter of vetting it all as you go, piece by piece, to start to understand a different version of what you've been told that reality is.
When's this going to happen, Jeremy? Do you think September?
I do not predict things I do not have direct control and my finger on the button of. But I will tell you, not only have plans been made, they have been enacted to make sure to protect people. How the world handles David Grush is going to change everything.
I want to believe Robby, but here's my question.
No, I'm the skeptic. You do believe. I want to believe.
When Jeremy says there's nothing stopping it now, my question is, what was stopping it before and what has changed? What accounts for all of the people who are still anonymous? There were the 2 anonymous people who were supposed to testify that didn't, or was it 3? There is this person who has the photographs of his dad's insignia and this knowledge that has been passed down from his father who worked at Area 51, who is still anonymous but says he is willing to go on the record if there's a congressional hearing context. Why are they still anonymous? What is holding them back? Why aren't we speaking that thing out loud? And what substantively has changed that has caused the government, which has apparently for 70 years tried to keep this under wraps, suddenly make a big to-do of having congressional hearings about it?
I mean, look, it is possible for a news event to throw open the floodgates on other Me Too, for instance, right? There, a prominent sexual assault accusation, news cycle, and then all of a sudden you have a lot of people coming forward, and it's not like the stuff had been going on for forever, but it just wasn't getting treated as seriously or covered as regularly. But a high-profile incident captures the news cycle, and then there's profit in talking more about it. It's more readily believed. That's happened tons of times with tons of different news cycles. So if I'm trying to steel man this position, I'm not saying
I
what I
guess my
actually
issue
think.
would be,
It's possible that David Grush, that testimony went or the interview first on News Nation, so viral This is back in the public consciousness, and this time it's not going away.
But
I think that's what they're hoping for.
My counter would be David Grush has said everything that he said in that interview to the media like a decade ago. That wasn't new. And we continue, unlike in Me Too, to get new to not get new stories. So before, actresses that had alleged, these events had happened in the past, they said they had been assaulted long in the past, let's say with someone like Harvey Weinstein, had never actually spoken up and named him and fingered him until the present. So it was an inside Hollywood whisper knowledge, but there wasn't some testimony from ex-actress on the record from back in the day. There were allusions to him.
Family Guy made jokes about it. It got joked about at award ceremonies. Bill Cosby, some radio guy, called him out like years and years ago. There was a sense that it was out there.
Yeah, it was out there, but that's the whole point. Like, and there's a sense that UFO, there's 101 TV shows about Area 51 and, all of that stuff. But
I love the Roswell show from the
in the Me Too example, I loved that show as well. But in the Me Too example, the idea was people didn't want to speak out because people like Harvey Weinstein were very powerful in Hollywood, and it would end your career. That's what happened to Mina Suvari. The couple of people who did make some insinuations got their career shut down, allegedly. In the UFO context, you would presume that the government has some interest in keeping technology or whatever their interest is in keeping aliens from us. In Me Too, that ends up crumbling because eventually a critical mass of women comes forward and says, well, we don't care about punishment. There's enough of us that are going to come together that you can't take us all down. I don't know that I'm seeing that here in the UFO context, where there's not, dozens of U.S. employees with firsthand knowledge of this stuff that are suddenly all willing to come forward because they think, well, you can't kill all of us, you can't imprison all of us, you can't punish all of us. It does seem to be the same 2 or 3 humans who have been saying what they've been saying for many years, which doesn't mean it's not true or that it couldn't be substantiated. But the question is, if there was so much, what is the threat that's keeping everybody else silent? It feels like a performative, when is the dam going to burst? Is the dam actually bursting? Do we really trust this as an authentic whistleblower phenomenon if all of the government seems to be happy to continue to have these hearings and air the whole thing out?
Yeah, the only way to prove what these people are saying in interviews that the dam is about to burst is for it to just actually burst. At some point, the speculation for all this stuff is going to come out and all these people are going to come forward is beyond the point. Okay, if that's what that I would love that for that to happen. I can't, and even that guy we just played does predict that's going to happen, and then he's asked, well, when? And he says,
I don't have my finger on the button. Okay, when.
Then how do you know that all the people are going to come forward?
What are the whistleblowers saying? What are the anonymous sources saying as to why they want to?
And why is this source is not that Coulthart's referring to? It doesn't sound like this is actually I guess the uncle wasn't was just a witness.
Yes.
So why can't he come? I guess maybe he's not alive.
If you're doing a journalism, and you're gonna let a source speak on the record anonymously, it's characterized. You say, because of fear of reprisal from their employers, I allow them to comment anonymously. You get this in stories where people are talking about their bosses on the Hill or whatever, and
even a lot of that I don't agree with. I think it's very lame.
But at least they try to give an explanation why. I would just love to at least be seeing, because this violates a security, non-disclosure agreement that they signed. Well, the very existence of such a thing would be interesting to me. Or because they have been threatened with reprisals from this agency. Well, that at least puts a target, that identifies who it is that's keeping this information and gives us a sense of what their interest is.
And we want to know that anyway, because we want to know, the suggestion is everybody's keeping silent because of their fear of reprisals from government or quasi-government actors. Well, let's name those people and hold them accountable. That we can do.
Yeah, literally where are the bodies buried?
Yeah.
where are the alien bodies buried?
These people are still working, and there are agencies that, again, this is a theme I talk about in all sorts of contexts. Where are the bureaucrats putting pressure on people to be silent? Call them out.
Yeah.
And protect people who if they're actually facing retaliation from them.
What do you make specifically of these claims? The description of this particular craft, SUV-sized, impenetrable, like they could not pierce the shell of it. does that lend credibility, the specificity of that description for you, or no?
I mean, we've heard similar descriptions of the kind of otherworldly sheen. A lot of the crafts, they tend to have a shape and a color that is, and then the movement being very foreign from the standpoint of people who fly planes. That has been described numerous times, but I fully believe these people think they saw that, and maybe they did actually see it. But what else do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Other than say,
I mean, if it
could be true.
If the claim here is that the ship's hull cannot be pierced, what is the argument that's really being made? That this is made out of a material that's otherworldly? Has it been tested?
Like pierced by what? Like, did they shoot a gun at it?
Well, I presume.
Did they get
shoot a gun?
The welding supplies?
But they take the strongest metal cutter, whatever we have, diamond
What about a
tipped,
lightsaber?
whatever.
Can a lightsaber?
Okay, but these are the questions. Like the reason that I think that the French Harvard scientist who we interviewed a while back, who's dredging the ocean floor for an extra object from outside of the solar system that struck Earth, he's found these sphericals that are made of alloys that seem to be made by design, not naturally occurring alloys. That has credibility because the ideas are coming first and foremost from scientific principles and what we know about elements and the way that matter works in the universe. And I would find it very compelling if someone said they did an analysis on this very hard material, and the reason that we can't break through it is because it's a harder substance than anything we have on Earth, and whatever the scientific insight into what it might be comprised of actually is. What does it look like under a microscope or however you do material analysis? But again, we're just not getting that kind of data. We're getting the nephew of a guy who worked at a place and said he saw an egg-shaped thing that was really, really hard. And so I'm poised to believe. I just want a little bit more, and I hope they're right that we'll be getting more shortly.
More Rising right after this.